Thank you, everyone. Wow, that was an amazing introduction. I'm emotional just watching it. I love my baby so much. But it is such an honor and a joy for me to be here with all of you. This conference is amazing, and I just love saying yes. I love the new branding. It has touched my heart. I was crying yesterday just listening to it because it resonated to my life. But first, before I begin sharing with you my story, I want to introduce you all to the love of my life. He doesn't get a lot of attention, and he likes it that way. Everyone can touch me. Okay. Everyone, this is George. I mean that. He's awesome in every way. He is selfless and giving, and he serves his family and puts us first beyond everything else. But George and I, we have a very unique love story. You guys are going to love to hear this, okay? Promising you're going to laugh, okay? I need to hear your feedback. So George and I, we met many years ago. We were living in Texas. George was living in Dallas. I was living in Fort Worth. I'm a Southern girl, y'all. Born in Arkansas, raised in Mississippi. Although I did go to high school in Baltimore, Maryland, but we moved back to the South. My parents were not in the military, but the other M word, ministry. Yeah. But okay, so George and I were living in Texas, and we met on are you ready for this? A blind date. No, but it was wonderful, and he decided, yes, he couldn't live without my drama, and no, he and I got married in July of 2000 in Fort Worth, and then we moved to Portland, Oregon, where we live today, and began our life together, and we have two of the most amazing, beautiful little girls that you just saw, Isabella and Georgiana, who I love with all my heart. And then several years later, God blessed us with a third little angel. And everyone, this is Antonia. Antonia is probably going to take a nap. But Antonia's been leading and guiding me for 5.5 years. And she has truly been a part of changing my life. She's given me back my life without sight. And for that reason, I gave her a middle name and that is Hope. So you have joy and hope. But, I lost all of my vision almost 7 years ago due to juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and chronic uveitis. I see absolutely nothing. And these eyes that you see, they're not even real. Yeah, you guys can find me afterwards. I'll take them out for you. They're acrylic shells, see? You can touch them. They're not real. They're hand-painted, custom designed just for me. I still have my natural eyes, but my natural eyes have been so severely damaged due to uveitis that they are very small and icicle. But I love that I still have my eyes because they move and allow my prosthetic eyes to look so natural. But my girls, they love that I wear prosthetic eyes because they say, Mommy, you're like the best show and tell ever. I'm like the best show and tell ever for my friends. Blind jokes are my favorite. I love to pop out my eyes for anyone. I can also twist them and make them look different directions. I'm like, the other night, Isabella, my oldest one, was having a birthday party, a sleepover, had 7 little girls in my house, and I'm like, Isabella, I gotta take my eyes out, so, because I realize they get tired and sore, so I'm like, okay, you might want to tell your friends that Mama's gonna take out her eyes, just so they don't, turn around and look at me and they're going what just happened? So she's like, okay, girls, come on. My mom's going to take her eyes out for everybody. So it was great. I had this audience and these little girls, and they were just like, And there was, I turned them around and put them back right, and they all applauded, like I just performed this amazing trick. And I'm like, you gotta have fun, right? I figured if you can't change your situation, you have to make the best of it. And I decided to find joy in everything. And but even though I live every day in the dark, I have found that I still can see. I still see. I really do. I'm not just saying that because it sounds good. I mean it. I see more than I ever did before. And I don't see like you with your physical eyes, but I've learned, God has allowed me to see with my hands. I call them my finger eyes. And I see with my ears, and my nose, but more importantly, God has allowed me to see through the eyes of my heart. And this world is so beautiful when you focus on what really matters. You see, my life hasn't been easy, and I didn't come to this enlightenment just overnight. It's been a process. I've had many no's in my life, no's upon no's, that I have chosen to turn into yeses, big yeses, determined. After I was diagnosed at the age of 3 with juvenile arthritis and chronic uveitis, when my parents discovered it, they had no idea that kids could get arthritis or that it could cause blindness, and I was only 3. And by the time that they realized something was wrong, I had suffered such damage in my eyes. They couldn't really do anything they couldn't get it back and couldn't repair it. The best I ever remember seeing in my life was only in the left eye, and that was the big E on an eye chart, so like 20/400 shapes and colors and movements just within a few feet. And in the right eye, I could only see some shadows peripherally. But even though I was facing from a very young age so much pain, so much change, I had a wonderful family, parents, 2 sisters that never treated me different. They loved me and they encouraged me. I have faith in God, and all of that combined together has given me strength to get through every challenge and every trial that I have faced. As I grew older, though, challenges became a lot greater, especially as I entered into school, especially junior high and high school, right? It's hard for, I think, any kid, but then you add, a disease, disability on top of it, it becomes a lot more challenging. Okay, y'all, but I am a strong-willed girl, and I wasn't about to let anyone tell me, Joy, you can't do something because of your blindness or because of your arthritis. And when I did hear those things, I definitely did, my parents told me, Joy, don't listen to them. You believe in yourself, and people will see you the way you see yourself, and you be confident. And I'm so grateful for my parents that believed in me. I'm the biggest cheerleaders, so I was like, yeah, I can do this. So I'm like, when you told me I can't do something, I just work harder. My middle name should have been Determined, because it's so true. I looked at my life with obstacles and the no's that I was given as a way to prove people wrong. And it was a fun game that I enjoyed playing, because not only was I proving to others that they were wrong about disabilities, I was proving to myself. And it was amazing. So when I went into high school, yeah, I battled lots of things with schoolwork. It was so hard for me to get my work done. But I didn't want people to just excuse, why she couldn't. Oh, well, it's okay she can't make the A's because, she's got her disability, so it's okay. I'm like, no. I'm gonna work hard as it takes to get the A's, to make honor roll, to be in honor society, and I did. I accomplished all of that. And I stayed up hours all night just to get my work done. Another obstacle in school, and I know a lot of kids faces is not being able to participate in the sports and activities because of their arthritis. And I wanted to be in drill team. And I'm like, I'm a good dancer, I can do this. And I auditioned and they didn't allow me to make the squat, even though they said you had it perfect. They're like, we don't think you can do it with your arthritis and your blindness. And I'm like, well, you didn't ask me how I would do it, you know? And I'm like, I have my ways. I've developed tricks and techniques to get around a lot of my obstacles. And so I was determined, didn't take the no. And I continued to work hard, and I tried out again, and guess what? Long story short, I ended up being co-captain of my drill team. Yes. I graduated with honors, went on to college when people told me, Joy, you shouldn't go to college. Oh, even before that, Joy, you're not going to be able to graduate high school on time. But I did. I'm like, I'm going to go to college and prove them wrong. So I did. And then I met my husband around that same time. And people told me that's not really going to be possible to get married and have a family. And, I'm just like, it was very frustrating. But again, I just believed that God had a perfect plan for me. And I know that He wants the best for me. And I'm going to get anything that I believe that I deserve. And so after God blessed me with the best, we got married and we moved to Portland, Oregon. That was scary. I lived at home with my parents and my sisters up until the day of our wedding, and then moving to Portland to a place where I didn't know anyone except my husband, and I couldn't see well, and trying to navigate through a new city, and enrolling in college in Portland, and it was all exciting and scary, but I was looking forward to it, spreading my wings and finding my independence. And I went and got mobility training, learned how to use a cane and take public transportation, and my challenges became actually much greater at that point. I was in school for about a year in Portland. Life was going pretty good for me. And then all of a sudden, my joints that I'd battled flares throughout the years and gone in and out of remission, they flared up so severely out of just nowhere. It was so bad. I've never experienced it this severe in my life. It wasn't just a couple of joints. It was all my fingers, my wrists, my ankles, my knees, my toes. I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. I couldn't walk. I had to drop out of school. That was a first big no, and I couldn't find that one really. I dropped out of school. George had to take off a lot of work, and he had to help me get out of bed every morning, and he was so amazing. He had to open my hands and try to get them out of their fist and run them under hot and cold water. Remember that? And it was a hard period of time, and I'd been on methotrexate throughout my life and in high school, and it didn't work well for me. And at this time, the doctors were talking about this new drug called Enbrel. It was just coming out, and they said, we have hope for you with this drug, but the problem is, Joy, there's a long waiting list. It's a 3-month waiting list. So we just had to wait, and then when it came my turn, it was awesome, and after the first injection, I saw a change. Well, just a couple months after I was on Enbrel, we had a surprise, George and I. It's amazing how God sometimes surprises you with things that you don't expect. We found out we were pregnant with our first daughter, Isabella. This was scary. I've always wanted to be a mom, but at this time I wasn't thinking it was the right moment. But I had a peace that came over me, and I just had this feeling that it was going to be okay. And by the 4th month of her pregnancy, I was in complete remission, thanks to the pregnancy. And I experienced the most marvelous pregnancy and delivered a perfect, healthy baby girl. And life was good. I enjoyed being a mom, and fears that I had with learning how to change diapers and without the vision. But you know what? Where there's a will, there's a way. And again, I'm determined. We're going to do it. And now I had my husband by my side, and I knew together we could do anything as a team. And we developed our own tricks and techniques of taking care of the babies, giving them their medicines, and but we worked it out. Well, my joints started to flare up again about a year after I gave birth to her. And guess what? We got pregnant again. I was like, doctors told me, Joy, you just need to stay pregnant. And I'm like, I know, right? I'm like, no. I said, well, if we could just figure out how to bottle up the pregnancy hormones, that would be good. So can y'all work on that for me? Well, that pregnancy went great, and we delivered our second beautiful baby girl, Georgiana. And we, for a couple of years, my arthritis was managed well with just anti-inflammatories, and we were experiencing this beautiful world of being parents to our girls, and life was good. I became just used to this life, and I thought that it would never change. I just felt like, this is how it's always going to be. I never knew that someday, very soon, I was going to experience the hardest trials of my life. So fast forwarding a couple of years, the girls are now 5 and 2.5. We were living in Portland, and we decided, my husband was going to move us to Texas. We decided we would move to Texas and take a new job there. And we just thought it would be great. My parents still live there, and so we prayed about it. We felt like, yeah, this is the right move for us. So we decided, yeah, we'll do this. And we did a 10-day road trip. We were like, okay, let's just take the girls, and we'll just do this 10-day trip, and we'll go to Disneyland. Yeah, it was fun. It was really, in about 3 weeks, we'll be on our 7th anniversary of this trip. It's really real for me at this moment. So we packed up the car, and we were heading to Texas. It was mid-December of 2007, and we got to Disneyland, and it was exciting. I could see the lights, and it was magical because it was Disneyland, and my girls were so cute. I remember looking, I can just right now imagine the clothes that they were wearing, the little pigtails. While we were in Disneyland, something was going wrong. My good eye, well, it wasn't good, but it was, my better of the two eyes, I was seeing something change. The vision that I had was getting dark, and I had this curtain that was coming across my field of vision. So I used to be able to put my finger here, and I could see it here, but at this point, I wasn't able to see it until my hand got over here. And it was like dark here, and I said, George, something's wrong. I've never experienced this before. I've experienced a lot of vision, blurred moments, and this was not like that. And I became afraid. But for my girls, I said, we're going to enjoy this trip, and I'm going to ignore it and put it to the side, and we'll deal with it later. I was seeing my girls who were Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty, and Ariel, and it was magical. I prayed to God that it would clear up, but unfortunately, it wasn't. We finished our trip and ended up in Fort Worth, and we had Christmas with my family, and after Christmas, I said, George, it's getting worse. So we went in right after the 1st of January 2008, went in and saw a retina specialist, and he took one look at my left eye, and he said, Joy, your retina is detaching. And I was like, no, it can't be serious. This can't be happening to me. This wasn't supposed to happen to me. It's my only eye I have left. I don't see much out of it anyway. I'm like, but it's all I have. It's everything to me. He said, Joy, all the years of living with uveitis has caused a scar tissue damage, and is attached itself to your retina, and it is ripping your retina off, like ripping wallpaper off of a wall. He said, if we don't have surgery, you're going to lose it anyway. I remember that night we got home, knowing the decision we had to make. The night before surgery, I laid in bed with my girls. we had surgery. Bandage was removed. I was surprised. I couldn't see like I did before, but I could see some blurs and some shapes and more just some blurred colors, but it was good. It was better than nothing. Well, after that first week, one day I was walking through my living room and I was like, what's going on? The color started to disappear. It started to get white and foggy, and it was clouding up so fast. And I remember going, what's happening? I was looking in the mirror, and I could see myself disappear. I was waving my hand like this, trying to find my nose, trying to find my eyes, and I couldn't see them anymore. My pressure had dropped to 0. The eye was dying. It was giving up. It couldn't heal from the surgery. And there was nothing more the doctors could do. They tried everything. Injections of steroids around the eye, oral steroids. We had another surgery and had silicone oil placed in the eye to give it shape and give it pressure. Nothing worked. So within just a couple of months, I saw everything that I've known all of my life. I saw it fade away. But more importantly, I saw my babies. Just said that was the hardest. I was losing them. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know who I was as a wife, as a mom, as Joy. Talk about grief. It was a death. I got on antidepressants because I was in depression. And then during this time, we noticed Isabella. This was literally only 2 months after that first surgery in 2008. Isabella, I was holding her hand and we were walking and I'm like, why are you limping, baby? And she's like, I don't know, my ankle hurts. And I said, and I'm like, George, look at her ankle, something's wrong. It had so much fever in it, it was so huge, her foot, and we thought she sprained it. We took her in, had an x-ray, x-rays came back, she's fine. Mother's intuition, I just knew. So then we went and had another specialist look at her, and after blood work, long story short, the doctor told us your daughter has got juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. It's hard. I hadn't even come to terms with my loss, and now my baby has it. Fast forward a few months later, my youngest daughter, Georgiana, was going in for her annual eye checkup. We always had the girls in every year for their eye checkups because of precaution reasons, especially now after Isabella was diagnosed. We're like, this is something we have to do. Well, this one day, George took her, and it was just routine. I stayed home with Isabel. She wasn't feeling well. And I remember that day so well. George called me on the phone after the appointment. And I answered, and I was standing in my bedroom, and he said, Joy. And I said, he got quiet, and I said, what's wrong? Why are you so quiet? What happened? And he said, I was crying. I said, what's going on? I said, Georgiana was diagnosed with uveitis today. My world, I felt like it ended. It's one thing for it to be happening to me, but it was happening to my babies. It was because of me. I felt guilty. I'm like, God, you had this perfect plan for my life. And now it's taken my babies and it's causing the pain. Oh my gosh, George and I both, we grieved. But we still had hope. And I still believed something good is going to come from this horrible situation. One night, Georgiana, right after she was diagnosed, laying in bed with me, she knew this was Mama's disease. She looked at me and she said, Mama, am I going to go blind like you? I remember just holding her and I was crying. I said, no, baby, no. There's so many better treatments for you than were there for me, and I'm so glad. And Mom and Daddy are going to do everything to give you and Isabella a brighter future. We started turning the situations, the negatives into positives, and any way we could, finding joy. And it's hard whenever all three of us were getting injections, okay? This was not easy. George became the male nurse of our family. He didn't even like shots. But it's amazing when you have no choice, you find that strength, and he did. And he lined us up every Friday night in our house, in the Ross house, was shot night. As my husband likes to joke, it's not your typical Friday night shot night. But it was our shot night, and it was interesting. Yeah, but you know, I knew that my girls needed me to be strong for them. They were looking to me. And so it really made me take the focus off of myself. As a parent, you do that. And I started living for my babies, for my girls. And during this time of trying to manage their disease and my disease, and I went to guide dog school to receive Antonia because I was so tired of being led around by my family, not because I didn't appreciate them, but because I wanted to find my independence again and my freedom. And so I did. I went and received Antonia, and I came back to Texas with Antonia, and she was changing my life. During this time, I also began suffering severe nerve damage to my left eye from those surgeries. It was chronic nerve pain. If you've ever had a corneal abrasion, it was like that times 1,000. I would rock in bed, back and forth, in so much excruciating pain. I went through pain management treatments, electrical acupuncture, nerve block stimulation. Nothing was working, so the doctors placed me on narcotics. Started on Vicodin, and as that wasn't working, we were moving up to bigger drugs like Oxycontin. During this time as well, as I'm on all my immunosuppressants, biologics, everything, going through this pain management, I got struck with a horrific staph infection. It was so severe. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. It took over the entire right side of my face. I couldn't see my face anymore, and now my face is possibly being taken away from me. Doctors thought that I would need plastic surgery when they first looked at me. I'm a miracle. That's just one. We moved from Texas at that point, back to Portland for my husband's job. Things didn't get any better. My arthritis got worse because I had to come off all of my drugs because I couldn't fight my infections. So I'm trying to deal with the joint pain. I couldn't really take care of my babies. On top of that, I was now on 480 milligrams of Oxycontin a day, oxycodone for breakthrough, and when that stopped working, I got placed on methadone. Another staph infection hit me. 8 times I have been hospitalized with staph infections between 2009 up until right before 2013. All the while, still trying to be mom, wife, managing my girls, helping them cope with the disease. And yes, and just trying to live life. But the drugs were taking over my life. The pain was so severe. You guys, I didn't leave my house for months at a time. I missed Georgiana's whole kindergarten year. I never got to see her in kindergarten. It was hard. George felt like he was losing his life. I had PICC lines in my arm. He administered antibiotics even at home with a PICC line. He was daddy and mom outside the home because I couldn't leave. I had bandages all over my face. I was about to die. My girls missed 3 months of school in 1 year because they couldn't fight infections. Let me tell you, it was hard. The blindness wasn't even as bad as everything else I was facing. Oh my goodness, I felt like my world had ended. You know, previous years before, I thought that things were so bad.
But this was hell on earth. I wanted to do so many things with my girls that I wasn't able to do anymore. George and the girls, they kept encouraging me, talking about all the no's I was experiencing. They had to be my yes. They had to keep saying, Mama, yes, you can do this. Yes, Mama, we're here. Yes, honey. He kept telling me, Joy, you're going to beat this. We're going to win. And then I said, God, you've got to help me. One night, near the end of 2012, I was laying on my bedroom floor. I was crying to God. I said, God, please, you have to rescue me. I don't know if I can keep going, but I don't want to give up. But you've got to rescue me, because I can't go on living this way. I want to be there for my girls. They need me. For George. And then I just said, God, if you give me back my life, I promise you, because I love you so much, I'm going to live the rest of my days sharing the message of hope and of joy and giving love to anyone I meet. I changed my attitude. I started speaking what I wanted to see. And do you know what? A couple months later, at Christmas time, December 23rd, I experienced a Christmas miracle. All the bandages were off my face. George and I had gone through, he helped me go through a whole month of drug withdrawals. It was hell on earth. People said it was like heroin withdrawals. I thought I was dying, but we beat it, and I overcame. After December of 2012, I was so excited. We were so excited as a family because we got our life back. The girls go, Mama, you're back. I said, I'm back. I'm back. You know, my life wasn't perfect though. Everything that was wrong in my life didn't change. But I changed my thoughts. I changed my attitude of the way I looked at my circumstance. And I looked at it through the eyes of my heart. You know, people say seeing is believing. Believing is seeing. Every day for me is a step of faith. It is a step of faith, and it's scary. And after that 2013 began, when we started January 2013, I said, what can we do? What can we do to make a difference? We started searching. We didn't wait for the yeses to come to us. We started looking for, okay, girls, let's go to your school. And we started going to their school, and I started talking with their classrooms. And then they did too, about their arthritis. And then anyone, at restaurants, at the malls, I like to shop. Anywhere we go, it was like, you know, the door would open and we would just start sharing. It was like, I had this joy inside of me that I'm like, I got a new lease on life. And I was gonna scream it from the rooftops, not because I was just happy for me, but I wanted everyone else to see what I was seeing and to feel what I was feeling, that you can have it too. You can find it too. That's what life is about. It's not living for yourself. It's living for others. That's where your joy comes from. And I found that out. It's not about having the best job, the most beautiful home. It's not about the fancy car. It's not about your paycheck. It's about changing lives. And so, we did a really big thing. That March of 2013, we went to Washington, D.C. for our first advocacy summit. As a family, we're like, we're going to go big right off the bat. So we did, and our girls were excited. We went in and met with our lawmakers, and I was so empowered because I said, I'm healthy. I feel so good. I'm like, this is amazing that we can have our voice be heard. All the way in DC, so we got back to our hotel room at the first night, and Georgiana looks at me and she says, Mama, I'm so glad we have arthritis. I laughed because I said, I understand. And Isabella said, Mama, yes, we're so glad because look at all the opportunities now we have. And I said, that's my girls. That's my girls, yeah. And then we came back to Portland, got so involved with our juvenile arthritis camp in Portland, and started making a difference there. And it was life-changing too for our family because our girls got to be with other kids that had the arthritis. They didn't feel isolated or alone like I grew up. And that was, gave George and I such peace and hope to know that. And so, even then, after that, that wasn't enough. No. I started doing articles, health articles. Anything the Arthritis Foundation has ever asked me to do, I'm like, I'm your girl. You ask me and George, our answer is always yes. And so we started doing everything we could. But beyond the Arthritis Foundation, I started looking for ways to get the message out there. So I started a blind moms group in Portland with guide dogs, and Real Simple magazine heard of our support group in Portland, and they featured us this past March in the March issue of Real Simple, and it's a 6-page feature on living life. In spite of our blindness, we're living life to make a difference. And I made a point. I said to the editors, I said, okay, when you do the part of my story in here, I want you to talk about the Arthritis Foundation. I want these words in there. I'm an ambassador. I'm an advocate. I have arthritis. And I said, okay, make sure it says this. I have uveitis. My girls have blah blah blah. I have prosthetic eyes. Guess what? They got it. You guys have to look it up. They got everything in there, and I'm like, yay, because so many people are going to read this magazine, and they're going to learn about this disease. That was all I cared about being in Real Simple. It was amazing. And so after that, this past summer, and there's so many more things, gosh, we've done, but this past summer, our family experienced the most amazing thing. George and I were asked to be a part of developing, the Juvenile Arthritis Conference, we were asked to be a part of the sub-planning committee for advocacy, and we helped develop K-12 advocacy plan and teaching these kids how to be your best advocate and to share and tell your story. So George and I were like, this is amazing. We love kids, and we love to share our story, and I knew that this conference was going to be truly amazing, but I didn't really understand how much I was going to get and we were going to get out of it. So let me just tell you a little bit. So we went in, met with these little ones all the way up to high schoolers. George would go in and would educate the kids on what is advocacy. That's a big word, right? Teaching these kids what is advocacy. And it's your superpower. Your voice as a kid is a superpower. And your voice can make a difference. It can bring change. And then he would turn it over to me and I would share my story. Okay, I would pop out my eyes for these kids. Tell me, oh my gosh, these kids, I had them in the palm of my hand. I did. I would pop it out and they were mine, yeah. And then they loved the dog, of course. But I wanted them to see that it's okay to be different. These kids deal with bullying and they deal with peer pressure and they get picked all the time. And I'm like, you know what? Celebrate your uniqueness. There's not another you. It's okay to be different. I don't mind being different. And so I wanted them to know that, and that your story, it matters, and you need to share it with all your friends, with everyone, because your parents cannot tell your story better than you. The lawmakers aren't going to listen to your parents more than they're going to listen to you. And so it was amazing. Okay, so after we were done with our sharing our stories and stuff, I had families coming up to me after conference, after them sessions, and parents would say, oh, my kids, were telling me about you, and it wasn't just about your eye, you pop out your eye, which was cool, but they were crying. I had kids coming up to me crying, teenagers, crying. It was, oh my gosh, I was crying too because I saw myself in them. I never was a part of the Arthritis Foundation information growing up. I never met any other kids with arthritis until my girls were diagnosed. So going to a conference for me and meeting all these families and these kids, I could see myself at different stages of my life. And it was amazing. I was just as excited as they were to be there. And then one of the most amazing moments I experienced, and there were so many. I would be going back to my room every day and crying, oh my gosh, like, George, this is so wonderful. Because, I thought I was going to be giving, which I did, but I was amazed how much more I received from all of these families and these kids. It was healing to my soul. I don't have to see because I was healed in my heart. And so this moment, after conference was over, I will never forget. Georgia and the girls were out front, and we were waiting. We were fixing to go get in our car and head back to the airport. And we got stopped by a couple of families. This one family came up to us, and they said they had their son Parker was in a wheelchair. And the mother, Rochelle, said, Parker missed your session today. And she said he was so disappointed. He's heard all about the lady who could pop her eye out. And he missed your session. He really was sad about that. And I said, oh, that's okay. I'll do it for you now. I'll give you a private session. So I was sharing with them, and his dad and his brother, and we're all gathered around my girls, and I'm telling my story, and we're laughing, and then I started to tell how my life has changed because of arthritis. And how I've turned my no's into yeses, right? The negatives into positives. And as I'm sharing, I'm starting to tear up and cry. I felt the mother, Rochelle, I just felt these arms wrapped around me. She was crying. She was sobbing. I started sobbing and I was crying. She said, Joy, you don't know how much this meant to us right now, in this moment, to hear you speak these words. You're what we needed. And as she said, she looked over to Parker. He's sitting in his wheelchair. He's so sick with arthritis. Broke my heart. He was sobbing. I said, please, can you take me to him? I know what he's feeling. And I encouraged him to not give up. To not ever give up. I know where you are. And it's going to get better. You have to believe it. And as we were sitting there and I'm holding him, we're all crying. All of our family was crying. It was so precious. We got back in our car to head to the airport. And we were sitting there with our girls, and they experienced this too, and they were just in awe. And I said, George, this is why I have lived through hell on earth. It was for this moment, moments like this conference. Now I understand, God, why I had experienced such horrible things, and we still do. I understand. But it's been worth it all. It's worth it all. Because life isn't about us. I want to live, to share my story, to make a difference in this world, and to helping families like Parker, like so many, that are suffering. I want to find a cure, not just for my girls, but for the generations to come. My heart hurts for these families. Because of arthritis, I lost all my sight. Because of arthritis, my girls live in pain. Because of arthritis, I was addicted to painkillers. Because of arthritis, I almost lost my life due to staph infections. But because of arthritis, you guys, I have everything I've ever needed. My life is amazing. I'm serious. I love my life. It's not perfect. It's not without pain. It's not without obstacles. But I've learned to appreciate what I do have, not focus on what I don't have. I love helping others, and that's what we're placed here for. To live life bigger, to live life beyond ourselves. I'm so grateful for our family. I'm so grateful for the Arthritis Foundation. You have given me so much. You've given me so many opportunities. I just encourage all of you from this moment forward to live life, to be a life changer, to help others turn their no's into yeses. We can do this. I know we can do this. All it takes is a willing heart. All it takes is a willing heart. And you may be saying to yourself today, well, I'm facing such horrible things in my life. How can I help someone else say yes when I can't say yes myself? I can't find the strength. Well, let me tell you, when you start saying yes and helping others say yes, you will find your yes. You will find the strength to say yes. It will come. And when you give to others, you will find healing for your own soul. You will find everything you have been searching for. And together we can do that, and we can leave a mark on this world. When I look back on my life at the end of my life, I want to know that I made a difference. I want to leave a legacy. Don't you?
Yes.
I do. So from today, this moment forward, I encourage you to live to be a life changer. And I promise you, when you do, you will find joy that is contagious. I mean, it is contagious, and it's overflowing. You will find hope that is everlasting. You will find your purpose and your reason for living. Give, serve, love, and live to be a champion of yes. Thank you.